My genius. I fucking love Leo, guys. Like, his character is so fucking goofy. All right, so speaking of characters and the story of this game, I have a partner who does play video games. They love Resident Evil, horror games, Silent Hill, stuff like that. That's like their bread and butter. So I was explaining the plot of Metal Gear Solid to my partner one day because that is my favorite game series of all time. So I'm like, hey, Metal Gear Solid makes absolutely no sense, except it makes perfect fucking sense, right? And I'm telling my partner, by the way, this is a game where the only way that I can describe the story is if I were to get like a poster board and then hang up a bunch of pictures with pin and connect it all together with red yarn, like a conspiracy theorist. And they're like, crazy, explain. So I try to explain this to them. I didn't get past like Big Boss, Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, Solidus Snake before they were just like, whoa, slow down there, champ. I didn't get down past that part. So it's like a long joke with like them and I that me explaining anything to do with Metal Gear Solid, I will then go off on a tangent to how confusing that game is. Because I want to emphasize to them that it is the mad ravings of a crazy Japanese genius. And then I played Guilty Gear and I went to the story section of Guilty Gear where quite literally this game is explained in a fucking spider web of here's an event, here's what came of this event, and like just going on all these tangents. And I was like, oh yeah. So then I started explaining Guilty Gear to them. And I was like, essentially, this is a game where a guy took his anime OCs, wrote cool fucking music and made a fighting game. But yeah, so like I'm explaining like Metal Gear and I'll like the look on their face when I was like, yeah, so game technically starts at World War II where you get introduced to the boss. And I was like, but hold on, you can't be confused with the boss with Big Boss because Big Boss is the successor to the boss. Big Boss is also Naked Snake, who is not to be confused with either Solid, Solidus, or Liquid Snake, because those are technically his clones, but also his children, but they are his clones. And like right there is where I completely just fucking lost them. They're like, what are you going on about, you madman? And I'm like, the fucking best game I've ever played, ever. It was so fucking funny. And then like every now and then I will talk about this game whenever like it comes up and is relevant. And I remember I was explaining Metal Gear Twin Snakes to them and how that game is just obnoxious and overhyped, or I shouldn't say overhyped, but like it's just so over the top. I was like, yeah, so like there's this scene in Metal Gear Twin Snakes where Solid Snake, again, not to be confused with Naked Snake, Liquid Snake, or Solidus Snake, or like you go to a boss battle with a person named Sniper Wolf. And they're like, oh, does that person have a sniper rifle? And I was like, yeah, Kojima naming conventions are pretty on the fucking nose. And I was like, there's this scene where he does a backflip over a sniper rifle and then stomps the ground so hard that said sniper rifle comes up. And that's like how like the intro scene for this boss battle goes. And they're like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, that's not the craziest part of this game. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean? And I was like, so there's also a boss battle in Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes where you fight a helicopter. Liquid Snake is in the helicopter. You are not in the helicopter. You need to fight Liquid Snake while he's in a helicopter, the Hind D or whatever. Normal MGS one, not really all that crazy. You know, you did blow up a helicopter, which is insane. I was like, but Twin Snakes being Twin Snakes, if I remember this correctly, because it's been so many years since I have played this game, after you beat the boss, like a missile gets shot at Solid Snake and he jumps off the missile to shoot the helicopter with a rocket launcher. That is one of the craziest things about that game. But that's also just not the craziest thing in Metal Gear in general. There is this game called Metal Gear Rising. It was so fucking funny, dude. Naming conventions that are really on the nose really makes you wonder about Deep Throw. No. So like that one isn't that bad because that's a dude from the Watergate scandal back in like the Nixon era, right? Like there's absolutely nothing crazy about that. Ignore the fact that the guy is slamming his face on the ground, screaming, "Hurt me more, Snake, hurt me more," and the homoerotic undertones of that game throughout the whole series. Again, ignore that. This is also the same guy, the same guy who in a series was like, hey, we're gonna name this character Vamp, and his backstory is that he's gonna survive a bombing of a Romanian church by drinking his family's blood over a course of days. And then we're gonna have a character be like, oh, I get it. So his name is Vamp because he drank blood. And then we're gonna have Pliskin, aka Solid Snake, respond with, no, he's called Vamp because he's gay. I didn't remember that whole thing. So when I saw that as like a TikTok, I was like, there's no fucking way. But guess what, chat? That is actual dialogue in Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. And on top of that, this is also the same guy who had a character who's like big, bulky, plants bombs, runs around on roller skates for some fucking reason. But the thing is how he's a big burly dude. What are we going to call him? Fat Man. We're going to call him Fat Man. And if that's not any better, in Metal Gear Solid 5, we're going to have a guy who looks severely disfigured and like his cheeks are really sunken in. And it almost looks like his head is like a skeleton. You know what we're going to call him? Skullface. Metal Gear Solid is a fucking beautiful masterpiece. You're damn right, okay? Because I say all these things as a way to jokingly poke fun at probably one of the best game series I have ever played, if not the best. I still to this day will say that Metal Gear Solid 3 is the best game I have ever played. Quiet literally being a mute. Yeah, right? My other favorite thing is how that didn't stop after Metal Gear. That went on to Death Stranding, where you have a guy who's basically the world's best Amazon delivery guy being called Sam Porter Bridges in a quote unquote Bridges game. Like crazy. Also, there's Die Hard Man, who, if I remember correctly, cannot die. Dude, Kojima, fucking cinema, dude. The amount of detail in the Metal Gear series is unmatched. I will die on this hill. No, you're right. You're right. If you can get around where like it just gets kind of crazy, right? If you get around that, it is such a good game. And also crazy that it predicted like the whole AI dystopia that we currently inhabit. Perspective thus gained, Ace Combat might be slightly more grounded in terms of story. Oh, brother. You don't even fucking know how ungrounded Metal Gear Solid story is. Tarman has the power of tar. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, when it comes to Kojima naming conventions, he'll just be like, what's like a defining feature of this character? Oh, he wears a mask? Oh, okay, we'll call him Mask Man. And then you're like, okay, that's a stupid name. But then you're like, no, you don't understand though. He has trauma from when he was a child and his parents abused him. So now he wears a mask to hide his emotions because his parents beat the emotions out of him. So now he wears a mask that conveys the emotions that he's feeling whenever he's in battle. And you're like, what the fuck? That's sick. Yeah. That is a cool character. But his name is Mask Man. And that's like every Kojima game ever. And you know what? 10 out of 10 every single time. I didn't play Death Stranding because I just wasn't a really huge fan of the concept, but I totally accept that it's cool. Goddamn Streamlabs. At this point, Streamlabs is now a meme because it's just fucking... It's just killing everyone. Why?